Welcome back. So now we'll get the paddles being drawn on the screen. And to do that, we're going to create four functions, two sort of pairs of functions. So first thing that we'll do is we'll actually draw it. So let's come up into the space. Remember, I said we're going to leave a bit of space in here so that we can put a bunch of functions. And so in Python, to define a function, we put def, and we will call this one player1. And it's going to take an X position and a Y position because we need to know where to draw it. And it's very easy to draw. We can take advantage of the Pygame.draw, and these are going to be rectangles. And so where we're going to draw it is you have to say it's going to be on the screen. And remember, we created a screen here. Okay, so it's just basically going to locate it on the screen. We can give it a color, and so let's set this to red for the player1, and then we will set it to two values, so where it is, so X and Y, and then also its width and its height. So it's going to be 10 in the width, and then it's going to be 50 in terms of its length. Okay, so that's player1. We're going to do player2 as well, so I'm just going to copy that because it's going to be more or less identical. The only difference is obviously the name. This is going to be identical. The size is going to be identical. X and Y will be different, but that's going to be passed in and be changing as we move our player. And we'll just change the color. And I think, again, you could change the color up here. I'm just going to make this green. So both of these functions will basically draw the rectangle on the screen. Now, the other thing that we have to worry about is sort of moving it. And to move it, there's going to be sort of move player1 and move player2. So let's do that here. And again, we'll just sort of do the one and copy the other. So I'm going to do def move player1. And this one doesn't take any values. Okay, we are going to set global to player1y. Okay, that means we're going to be able to access that player1 value, y value, that we created earlier. So if you remember, just move up a little bit here, we created its position right here. Now at the start, it's going to be 10 and 255, right, for the y, 225, sorry. But then it will be changed as we press the keys. So first thing that we'll do, though, is we'll say if the player1 y is less than or equal to 450, then we can move it. If it's beyond 450, then we wouldn't want it to go any further down. So we sort of put this limitation on, and we'll do the same thing on the top. So if it's less than 450, and if they press this key, so there's keys, which we defined after, if you recall, below here, I guess I should say, pygame.key, so .k, .k, and then we do _z. So keyboard Z will be allowing us to move it down. And so when I put this in, we're going to change the player1 y value by, plus equals 10. Oh, sorry, 20. I did 20 here. So what will happen is that as you press that key and each frame goes by, we're going to be able to move the y value and increase it by 20 units, 20 pixels. And that will let us move down the screen. Because remember, as you move down, y is getting larger. So, and we can go down until we get to about 450. Okay, so that's what's happening there. We will do very, very similar here for the other direction. So let me just go back. So come out to this. If player1y is now if it's greater than 0, get that right? Yeah, greater than 0. And actually, now that I think about it, this should probably be about 50. Okay, so we'll do, oh no, sorry, 0. And I will explain why in a second. 0, 0 is going to be the top left, and the paddle gets drawn down. So I was overthinking of it there. So if keys, Pygame, and Pygame dot, which one do we want? We want K and A. So this is going to be moving it up. Now it's a little bit counterintuitive, but moving it up in this case, the player Y position will actually get smaller. So player 1Y minus equals 20. So it's going to get lower. Okay. Now let's take that and copy it. Hopefully everything's good, and basically paste it there. And all we really have to do is change these names. So 2, and we 2, 2, 2, and then we have to change the keys. So we're going to use the M and K keys. So to move it down, we'll use the M key, and to move it up, we'll use the K key. Again, you could change the keys here. Those are the ones I've chosen. All right. Now, this should pretty well work. So what I'm going to do is come on down and use these variable values. And notice X is always going to be, either 10 or whatever we define it as, but was it 10 and 490? We're never altering its position on the X-axis, only the Y-axis. So let's take a look here. Now, to get these to run, we're going to come down into the loop, and right in this place, I'm going to put in a few spots here. What we'll do is we'll basically get the key input. So move player 1, move player 2. The order doesn't really matter, so I'm going to do move player 1, move player 2. Then we're going to draw it. So we'll do player 1. Now we have to do the X position. So we're going to do player 1X, comma, player 1Y. And then we'll do the same thing for player 2. Sorry, did I call that player 2? Sorry, I should call them move player. Move player 1, move player. Oh yeah, sorry, I just called them player 1, player 2. I should probably call it like draw player 1 and draw player 2. I think that would work out better, but I've called it that. So, okay, and then player 2X, comma, player 2Y. All right, so we should get 2 paddles on the screen. Nothing really going on. There's one paddle, that's good. There's the other paddle. And I might push this back now that I think about it, put it back to 0. And if I use so click in here, A and Z keys, they do move up and down, which is good. And then if I do my K and M keys, they do move up and down. Now I seem to be off the screen there. So I'm just going to take a look at that code. Yeah, it seems to have gone way off the screen. So if it's less than 450, let it move, increase the value. If it's greater than 0, let it decrease the value. Okay, let me just come back to that in a second. I'm going to come up here. I want to re-put this back to 0. I made a different decision there. Let's just stop that. Run it again. And whoops. It seems to be letting me go off the screen, so just give me a second to troubleshoot this. And the good old copy and paste issue caused my problem. So there it is there. Player 2Y, that should be. Hopefully you caught that. Right, so it was using player 1, and that's why it was allowed to go off the screen. So just to double check again. So oops, click in there. So now it can go down and up, and then the other one as well, K and M. We no longer have that problem. Perfect. Okay, so let us do a little bit more work here. Just before I do that, I'm going to turn off this print event. It's just a little annoying there. We don't need that anymore because we troubleshot that. We understand that. Okay, perfect. We're going to create a couple more variables here to do with the ball. And it's almost going to be the same idea, what we did with the player, we need to create a ball one to draw the ball, and then we need to move that ball. So let me come into here, and then we'll define the ball. And again, probably I could have called this draw ball, but that's okay. Oops, sorry. There we go. And all we have to do is sort of draw it in here. So let me, before I do that though, just thinking. Yeah, well, I'll just go with what I've got here. So I've got global ball X, ball Y. I was just thinking of using it as a parameter there as well. I think I could, but we'll just do that. Pygame.draw. And this time we're going to draw an ellipse. So basically a circle. And what we've got here, same as before, we say it's going to be drawn on the screen. We can give it a color. I'm going to pick this green as well. And then we've got a sort of a tuple of 3 things, or 4 things I should. Ball's X position, ball's Y position, and then sort of the diameter horizontal and diameter vertical, because it's an ellipse. This will make it a perfect circle, but we could possibly have it as an ellipse. So that would draw the ball. Just trying to think if we've got enough time here. I don't think we do. So I'll put that into the other video. But let's just draw the ball on the screen here. So I'm just going to put this in. And so I'm just going to do ball. And we didn't have any parameters. So this should just place the ball in the middle here, because we just have those values. And there it is. Now it's not going to move. We have to create a move value as well there for the ball, but we do have it being drawn. So just to set things up, and then we'll get into it in the next video there, but we can define a move. If I can type again, move ball, and this one will take an X and a Y value as we pass it in, and yeah, we're going to basically be able to move the ball around from this. The difference between the move ball and the move player is going to be that we're going to move the ball sort of by itself, depending on the collisions, which we'll talk about later as well. But basically, it's just going to move it around based upon the sort of this automatic movement, right? No keys are required here. Good. So we'll stop this here, and like I said, sort of hopefully finish up the game in the next video.